Coming up on Our World, eyes on North Korea as 2 more ballistic missiles are launched, why experts think there may need to be a new approach to dealing with the nuclear threat they are capable of. Plus, enough is enough. How China's COVID-19 zero tolerance policy has caused people in one city to do something rare, protest and in large numbers. And cause for concern. 2 new reports indicate global warming continues despite efforts already in place. A look at the impacts across the world. Welcome to Our World, I'm Stephen Walker. North Korea fires at least 2 more short-range ballistic missiles. That's according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said the projectiles were fired from one of the country's eastern provinces. This comes as South Korea wraps up its joint military drills involving its Navy, Marine and Air Forces along its east coast. Now, with North Korea's leading Kim Jong-un thought to be on the brink of conducting a 7th nuclear test, could attempting to end his weapons program be a lost cause? The Advocate Channel's Paula Hancock spoke to North Korean watchers about what options are left now.
Kim Jong-un shared his 5-year military plan with the world last year, a missile and nuclear wish list. Last month he passed a law making his country's nuclear status irreversible, and it is not up for discussion. Which raises the question, is the US push for denuclearization a relic of the past?
We simply have to treat North Korea as it is, rather than as we would like it to be. I think nobody disagrees that denuclearization would be a very desirable outcome on the Korean Peninsula. It's simply not a tractable one.
There's a growing body of academics suggesting tacitly accepting North Korea as a nuclear state, as in the case of Israel, which claims nuclear ambiguity while believed to have had nuclear weapons since the 1960s, or India before it carried out its 1998 nuclear test.
In both of those cases, the United States knew those countries had the bomb. But the deal was, if you don't talk about it, if you don't make an issue of it, if you don't cause political problems, then we're not going to respond. I think that's the same place we want to get to with North Korea.
Pyongyang has claimed that it's deploying tactical nuclear weapons to its field units, a claim that CNN cannot independently confirm. But at this point, there's no indication that the Biden administration is listening to the growing conservative voices here in Seoul, calling for US tactical nuclear weapons to be redeployed to the peninsula.
All this talk about tactical nuclear weapons, whether it comes from Putin or from Kim Jong-un, is irresponsible and dangerous.
Which leaves talk of a possible arms freeze in return for sanctions relief.
Often when you're dealing with a difficult problem, a freeze is a really solid way to start things out. It takes a little bit of the pressure off and it opens up space for other kinds of negotiations.
Especially if a certain topic is on the table.
There's a set of cooperative options which would require the North Koreans being willing to sit down at the table and talk about some of these things with us. I don't think in the current environment that we are really close to sitting down with the North Koreans.
If Americans want to talk about denuclearization, they are not going to talk. And if Americans are not talking, they will launch more and more missiles and better missiles.
North Korea's nuclear program started sometime in the 1950s, with a significant ramp-up that started in 1989 at the end of the Cold War. Chinese state media says the COVID situation in most parts of Tibet has improved and that more areas are getting back to normal. That's after people held a rare protest against lockdown measures that have been in place for more than 70 days, meaning residents are not allowed to leave their homes unless absolutely necessary. Nearly 100 Chinese cities are under full or partial lockdown. The Advocate Channel's Kirsty Lou Stout has more.
Video evidence has emerged of a rare protest in the Tibetan capital of Lhasa. On Wednesday, residents took to the streets angry and furious over a harsh COVID-19 lockdown that's been in place for more than 70 days. And these are the videos that have been circulating on social media. In this one, a large group of people are gathering in an alley. They are surrounded by pandemic workers in hazmat suits and police and special forces holding shields. And in another video, a policeman is heard on a loudspeaker saying, "The epidemic is controllable. Please understand our work. Go back. Don't gather here." Now, CNN has geolocated the videos to the Cheongwan district in Lhasa, but we cannot verify who took the images. We've also reached out to the local police department, but we're not able to reach them. Now, the demonstration in Tibet comes just weeks after video emerged of that brazen protest in Beijing that directly attacked China's zero COVID policy. One banner read in part, "No to lockdown, yes to freedom." Now, China's zero COVID policy, this policy of mass testing, lockdowns, and border controls, have disrupted both lives and livelihoods. But to Beijing, the policy is necessary to save lives and to protect China's medical systems. At the start of the 20th Party Congress, Chinese leader Xi Jinping reaffirmed his commitment to zero COVID, saying this, quote, "We have adhered to the supremacy of the people and the supremacy of life, adhered to dynamic zero COVID." Last month, CNN counted more than 70 Chinese cities placed either under full or partial COVID lockdowns in a period of a couple of weeks, affecting more than 300 million people. And as we're now seeing in Tibet, anger is rising against China's zero COVID policy, but Beijing is refusing to change course.
China's zero COVID policies continue to take a toll on its citizens, from blows to the economy to increasing public fatigue over lockdowns, along with harsh travel restrictions. China's zero COVID policies continue to take a toll on its citizens, from blows to the economy to increasing public fatigue over lockdowns, along with harsh travel restrictions. Uvalde parents are slamming the Texas Department of Public Safety, claiming the agency failed to keep families safe while a gunman opened fire at Robb Elementary School last spring. At a meeting of the agency's oversight board, parents called on the director of DPS to resign. The Advocate Channel's Jen Sullivan breaks down the emotional meeting and has reactions from the state as parents call for transparency.
For these parents, their lives will never be the same.
In an emotional meeting Thursday, parents and leaders from Uvalde demanding the Texas Department of Public Safety director resign, claiming the agency failed families during the deadly school shooting this past spring.
You have disgraced the state, your position, and the people. The officers still under your supervision.
It was one of the deadliest school shootings in nearly a decade. 19 children and 2 teachers shot and killed at Robb Elementary May 24th.
I got shots fired.
Nearly 400 officers from DPS and other agencies responded, starting within minutes of the first gunshots. But security footage shows law enforcement waiting 77 minutes before entering the classrooms to find victims and kill the 18-year-old shooter, putting into question whether authorities could have done more to save the victims.
No help arrived. We will never know how many children could have been saved.
Calls for the director to step down at the agency's oversight board meeting Thursday were met with opposition.
DPS is an institution, okay, right now, did not fail the community.
Parents of victims say still so much is unknown, and they just want answers and closure.
We need transparency, and he could easily just release that body cam footage and let us decide, what actually happened.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
A new report suggests nations are way off track to limit global warming below a dangerous threshold. One new report from United Nations suggests global warming will rise to between 2.1 and 2.9 degrees Celsius based on the world's current climate pledges, way beyond the 1.5 degrees nations are trying to stay below. A separate report from The Lancet found health of people around the world is at the mercy of persistent fossil fuel addiction. The report also reveals that heat-related deaths jumped nearly 70%. Now for something a bit out of our world. Mars, the planet that's most like Earth than any other in our solar system, may have ancient bacteria hidden on its surface. So far, scientists have not found any proof of life on the planet. But researchers created Mars-like conditions in a lab to determine if bacteria and fungi would survive. It turns out bacteria can survive for at least 280 million years if it was protected by solar particles and ionizing radiation around the surface. Researchers say Mars could have been livable billions of years ago, but it has since become like a frozen desert with temperatures 80 degrees below Fahrenheit. The Out 100 is officially here, recognizing and honoring 100 of the most influential figures in the LGBTQ+ community. This Out 100 is the most unique and diverse ever, put together from members of media, Hollywood A-listers and social media stars. Cover stars include Ronan Rubinstein and Rafael Silva, and the old gays of TikTok. Visit out.com for the list of honorees and their powerful stories. Thank you for joining our world. The Advocate channel is streaming now on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, and you can also download our app on your Android and Apple devices. I'm Stephen Walker. See you next time.